A wave of tension rolls across Heartland, and everything that seemed calm just moments ago is suddenly headed toward a breaking point. Episode 7 doesn't wait, doesn't breathe, and doesn't give anyone time to prepare. Something is shifting between the family, between the horses, and deep inside the ranch itself. What happens next could change the direction of Season 19 in a way no one saw coming. Asterisk Episode 7 opens with a feeling that something is not quite right. The Heartland Ranch is still standing strong. The horses are still scattered peacefully across the fields, and the sky holds its usual calm color. But underneath all of that beauty, there is a quiet worry flowing through the characters. It is not loud, it is not dramatic, but it is heavy enough that you can feel it even before anyone speaks. This episode begins by showing how one small moment, one small choice, can slowly begin to shift the balance of everything happening inside the family. Amy walks through the yard early in the morning, and her expression tells the audience that she is thinking deeply about something she has not yet shared with anyone. She moves with purpose, but there is also hesitation in her steps, as if she is trying to avoid facing the truth of a situation she cannot ignore anymore. Episode 7 uses this silent tension to prepare viewers for what's coming. Nothing explosive happens in these opening minutes, but the quietness is its own warning. It is the kind of mood Heartland uses when something emotional is just around the corner. The camera moves to the barn, where the horses are restless. A usually calm horse pushes against the stall door, another keeps pacing nervously, and a younger one lets out a loud snort that echoes across the wooden walls. This behavior instantly catches Amy's attention, and it also signals to the audience that something is changing. Because when the horses react like this, it usually connects to something happening within the family. Amy tries to calm them, but even her soothing voice doesn't settle the tension completely. The horses sense that the ranch is shifting. Even if the humans haven't said it aloud. As Amy works, the scene quietly transitions to Jack, who steps out of the house with a look that tells us he had a long night. Jack is normally the steady center of the family, the voice of calm and reason. But Episode 7 gives him a slightly heavier presence. Maybe it's concern for someone in the family. Maybe it's something he learned overnight. Or maybe he is carrying a secret that he hasn't figured out how to share. Whatever the cause, his slow walk toward the barn hints that he knows something important is coming. Lou is next, and she enters the frame pacing back and forth on the porch with her phone in her hand. Her expression is full of frustration and confusion. It is clear she received news that she doesn't want to deal with, but she also can't ignore. She keeps glancing toward the driveway, as if she expects someone to arrive or maybe hopes someone won't. Her story in Episode 7 begins with pressure from every direction, family responsibilities, leadership duties, and a personal issue she thought she had under control, but is now slipping away again. Inside the house, the atmosphere is just as tense. The kitchen table has papers spread on it, documents, letters, bills, something that shows the ranch is facing decisions that can't be delayed anymore. The way Episode 7 presents these details is subtle, but powerful. It's not a loud problem, not a dramatic meltdown, but a quiet reminder that life at Heartland is constantly shifting, and the family must keep adjusting, even when it's difficult. The mood of the ranch is a character of its own in this opening. The wind picks up. A door slams shut even though no one touched it. A distant horse neighs sharply. The sound design of the episode hints at mounting tension, almost like the land itself is aware that a turning point is approaching. Heartland has always used nature to reflect emotion, and Episode 7 leans into that style heavily. This creates a slow but meaningful build-up that viewers can feel even before the plot takes its next step. What makes this opening setup especially powerful is how it pulls every character into the same emotional space without any dialogue between them. Amy feels the pressure through the horses. Lou feels it through her responsibilities and unexpected news. Jack feels it deep inside him, sensing a problem before it becomes visible. Even the younger characters, though not shown immediately, are connected to this shift. It is as if the entire ranch is silently preparing for an emotional storm that hasn't yet touched down. Then comes the moment where all these silent tensions merge into one clear direction. A truck pulls into the driveway slowly, quietly, and without any dramatic music. But the camera focuses on it long enough to tell viewers that whoever is inside will play a major role in Episode 7. This arrival might be a surprise, or it might be someone the family hoped wouldn't appear today. The camera never shows the driver right away. Instead, it focuses on the reactions of Amy, Lou, and Jack separately. Amy looks confused. Lou looks worried. Jack's jaw tightens and he takes a slow breath. This technique builds anticipation without spoiling anything. The audience knows this person matters. The silence makes the arrival even more powerful than loud music ever could. Heartland often uses this type of storytelling to create emotional weight, and Episode 7 uses it perfectly. As the truck door opens, the scene cuts away deliberately, leaving the audience hanging. Instead of showing who stepped out, the story shifts inside the house, focusing again on the papers on the table. A breeze from the open window blows them slightly across the wood surface, rustling them just enough to remind viewers that something important is written there. Something that connects to the person who just arrived. Something that might change the future of Heartland Ranch. The opening setup ends with a wide shot of the ranch, silent, beautiful, and tense. The mountains in the background stand tall, the fences are still, and the horses have finally settled. But the sense of calm is thin, almost fragile. As the camera slowly pulls back, the audience is left with one clear feeling. Episode 7 is the moment everything begins to shift. Not loudly, not suddenly, but in a way that will leave a lasting mark on Heartland's future. Episode 7 begins pulling the audience deeper into each character's personal world, showing us the emotional pressure building inside them long before the main conflict is revealed. Heartland has always been a story about family, healing, and connection. And this episode uses its characters to remind viewers that even the strongest families have moments where they feel lost, unsure, or divided. It takes time to explore each major character, showing how their personal struggles quietly connect to the larger tension shaping the ranch. We start with Amy, who carries the same calm determination she always has. But this time her emotions sit just below the surface. She can't shake the feeling that something is changing in ways she cannot fully understand. When she walks through the barn, her voice is gentle, her hands steady, but her eyes tell a different story. The horses react to her mood, almost mirroring her inner conflict. One horse refuses to settle, another pulls away from her hand. And Amy pauses. She realizes their behavior is more than restlessness. They feel the tension she is trying to hide, the same tension she doesn't want to admit to herself. Amy knows that animals can sense unspoken worries, and this makes her wonder if the ranch is heading toward another challenge she isn't ready for. But Amy's real struggle in episode 7 comes from something personal, a decision she knows she must make, but one she has been avoiding. She carries the weight of responsibility for the horses, the ranch, and her family. Yet this episode shows that she is quietly questioning whether she can continue being everyone's anchor without losing herself in the process. Amy tries to stay strong, tries to keep moving forward, but moments of hesitation appear in her actions. She stops longer than usual before opening a stall door. She sighs quietly when she thinks no one is watching. These small details reveal her emotional exhaustion, and the audience starts to understand that Amy is reaching a point where she might have to confront her fears head-on. From Amy, the focus shifts to Lou, who is dealing with pressure in every direction. Lou is known for her leadership, her ability to stay organized, and her constant effort to keep the ranch and the family running smoothly. But episode 7 shows her cracks forming in places she can no longer hide. She receives a call earlier in the morning, a call that brings more questions than answers. Lou's plans become tangled in complications she didn't expect. She tries to stay calm, tries to keep her voice steady, but her hands shake slightly as she sets her phone down. Lou has always struggled to balance family and responsibility, but this time the stakes feel different. There's an unspoken fear in her eyes, something she doesn't want to admit out loud. The last thing she wants is to let her family down. She knows that one wrong move could create tension between the people she loves most. And as episode 7 continues, it becomes clear that Lou is caught between doing what she believes is right and doing what her heart is telling her. This emotional conflict becomes one of the driving forces of the episode. Meanwhile, Jack remains the quiet center of the family, but his silence in episode 7 is heavier than usual. Jack has always been the one who senses trouble before anyone else does. He can read people with a single glance, and he can feel when something is wrong even if no one has spoken a word. In this episode, Jack's calm is replaced with a thoughtful worry. He stands outside the barn for a long moment, staring at the mountains as if searching for an answer hidden somewhere in the horizon. Jack's storyline in this episode revolves around knowledge, something he knows, something he fears, or something he believes the family is not ready to face. His expressions are subtle, but they carry years of experience. When he talks to Amy, his words are gentle but filled with caution. When he looks at Lou, his eyes show concern that he doesn't fully express out loud. Jack is carrying a truth that hasn't been revealed yet, and the weight of it is slowly starting to affect him. The episode also shines a light on Tim, whose presence always brings a mixture of tension and unpredictability. Tim enters episode 7. With a storm in his own mind at conflict, he tries to hide behind his usual confidence. At first glance, he seems strong, busy, and focused. But there are moments where he pauses too long or stares into the distance. With a troubled expression, something from his past or something happening in the present is pulling him into a complicated emotional state. Tim has never been good at showing vulnerability, but episode 7 forces him to face emotions he has been avoiding. Whether it's fear, guilt, or regret, something is weighing on him so heavily that not even he can pretend it doesn't exist. The episode uses his character to explore themes of accountability and the importance of facing unresolved issues, even when doing so feels painful. Tim tries to act like everything is fine, but his voice wavers when he speaks to Jack, and he avoids eye contact with Lou. These small interactions slowly reveal the deeper emotional journey waiting for him. The attention then turns to Georgie, whose story has always been tied to growth, self-discovery, and independence. Even if she isn't the focus of every scene, episode 7 shows her at a crossroads. She stands in the training arena, repeating her routine over and over, as if trying to distract herself from something she doesn't want to think about. Her movements are sharp, precise, almost controlled. It's clear she is pushing herself harder than necessary. Georgie's conflict in episode 7 revolves around identity and fear of failing, fear of repeating past mistakes, fear of not being enough for the people she loves. Her storyline brings a younger emotional perspective into the episode, reminding viewers that growth is never simple and dreams often come with shadows of doubt. The episode gives her time alone, showing her sitting on a fence railing, staring at the open field with a faraway look in her eyes. She is searching for courage, for clarity, for something to hold on to. Then there is Quinn, who plays a meaningful but quieter role in this episode. His concern for Georgie drives many of his actions, but he is also dealing with pressures of his own. Quinn tries to support her, tries to understand what she is feeling, but he also senses that something is shifting between them. Episode 7 uses his character to explore emotional closeness, how difficult it is to help someone who is scared to open up. and how relationships can struggle when silence replaces communication. Through all these character moments, Episode 7 is something powerful. It shows that every member of the Heartland family is facing a personal battle at the same time. These battles connect emotionally, even if the characters do not talk about them directly. Their actions, their pauses, their expressions, they all reveal the depth of what they are going through. The episode builds tension through these character arcs, making the audience feel that a turning point is approaching. Each storyline becomes a thread pulled tighter and tighter, creating an emotional fabric that is ready to tear or transform. The characters do not know it yet, but their individual struggles will collide with the main event of Episode 7 in a way that could change their lives forever. The section closes with a quiet scene. Amy, Lou, Jack, Tim, and Georgie each shown in separate shots, each lost in their own thoughts. No words, no loud music, just the sound of wind moving across the ranch and the weight of unspoken emotions settling into the story. Episode 7 is not just another chapter, it is the moment where every character stands on the edge of a change they cannot avoid, and the choices they make next will shape the rest of Season 19. Asterisk, the heart of Episode 7 begins to unfold slowly, almost quietly, as if the story wants the audience to feel the pressure tightening before the characters even understand what is happening. This is the section where all the scattered emotions, silent worries, and personal struggles begin to connect. The central conflict does not arrive with loud music or dramatic shock, it comes the way real problems often do, quietly, steadily, and in a way that can no longer be ignored. The episode transitions into the conflict when Amy notices something that everyone else misses. She stands near the paddock, watching one of the horses behaving strangely. The horse circles repeatedly, stops abruptly, then lifts its head as if sensing something dangerous in the distance. Amy's expression tightens. She walks slowly toward the fence, whispering softly, trying to calm the horse. But the animal doesn't respond the way it usually does. This is not simple nervousness. This is the start of something bigger. The camera shifts to her face, and the worry in her eyes becomes the first clear sign that Episode 7 is finally revealing its main turning point. Amy turns back toward the barn, looking for Jack or Lou, but before she can call their names, she spots something at the far end of the property, dust rising in the distance. A vehicle coming fast, far faster than the one that quietly entered earlier. She watches closely, confusion turning into concern. This sudden arrival doesn't feel calm. It doesn't feel friendly. It feels like trouble. By the time the vehicle stops, Lou is already stepping out of the house, her face pale and tense. She recognizes that car. She knows what it represents. Her worry from earlier suddenly becomes clear to the audience. Jack moves toward the driveway slowly, his footsteps heavy, his jaw tight, the weight of unspoken truth showing in every step. Tim appears next, stepping out from around the side of the barn with a fierce, defensive energy. His posture stiffens as he stares at the vehicle, as if ready to confront someone he hoped never to see again. The conflict that Episode 7 focuses on isn't about the past alone, it's about a threat that touches the future of the ranch, in a way that could divide the family if they are not careful. When the door of the vehicle opens, the camera stays tight on the reactions of the family instead of showing the newcomer immediately. This makes the moment more intense, more emotional, because the audience must interpret the conflict through the family's expressions, rather than the identity of the person stepping out. Lou's shoulders drop in defeat. Tim's eyes burn with frustration and disbelief. Jack simply closes his eyes for a moment, accepting that this moment was coming. When the scene finally reveals the visitor, it becomes clear why tension spreads through every character. This person carries news that connects directly to the papers on the kitchen table, to Lou's early phone call, to the horse's nervous behavior, and to the quiet fear growing inside Amy. The central conflict of Episode 7 revolves around something both emotional and practical, a decision that affects the future of the ranch itself. This isn't just a family argument or a personal issue. It's something that strikes the ranch at its roots. The newcomer brings information or perhaps a warning about changes happening beyond Heartland's control. There is talk of land, of rights, of unexpected decisions being made outside the family's knowledge. Something they thought was secure suddenly isn't. Something they believed they had time to plan for is now being forced upon them. The episode makes it clear that the ranch is facing a threat that cannot be handled by emotion alone. It requires choices, sacrifices, and unity, things the family is struggling with individually. The conflict grows when Lou argues that they should address the issue immediately, using logic and planning. She wants to protect the ranch through structure, paperwork, legal routes. She believes that if they don't act fast, Heartland could face huge consequences. Tim disagrees completely. He thinks the family should stand their ground, face the problem directly and boldly, refusing to be pushed around. His approach is emotional, reactive, and fueled by fear of losing the ranch he fought hard to rebuild his relationship with. The disagreement brings out old wounds, old frustrations, and old failures that both of them preferred to keep buried. Jack stands between them silently. He listens. He observes. He studies the newcomer's words carefully. Jack knows the situation is serious, but he also knows that rushing into decisions fueled by panic could break the family apart, even faster than the external threat itself. He believes that unity must come before action. But the tension between Lou and Tim makes unity feel impossible. Amy stands quietly beside them, absorbing every word. She sees the bigger picture, not the legal mess Lou fears, not the territorial frustration driving Tim, not the burden Jack carries, but the emotional reality the ranch is facing. Amy understands that Heartland is not just buildings, land, and fences. It is the emotional home of every person standing there. The horses feel it, the family feels it, and now, the world outside is pressing hard against that sanctuary. The conflict intensifies when the newcomer reveals something unexpected, something that deepens the emotional blow. Maybe a deadline that is far too soon. Maybe a decision that has already been made without their consent. Maybe a plan that affects not just the ranch itself, but someone inside the family personally. This piece of information shifts everything. Lou becomes overwhelmed, feeling cornered by decisions she did not make. Tim becomes angry, directing his frustration at the messenger instead of the true source of the problem. Jack steps forward, trying to maintain calm, but unable to hide the disappointment in his eyes. Amy feels the ranch tightening around her, as if it is asking her to do something she is not sure she can handle. This is where episode 7 reveals its true conflict. The family must decide how far they will go to protect Heartland, and what they are willing to risk to keep it together. The emotional weight of this moment is heavy. The ranch feels different in the air. The wind becomes colder. The horses grow restless again, reacting to the fear, the anger, the uncertainty. The family gathers in the living room after the newcomer leaves. The silence is thick. No one speaks. The papers on the table are no longer just papers, they are symbols of everything they stand to lose. The lamps cast long shadows across the wooden walls, making the room feel smaller, tighter. As if the ranch itself is holding its breath, Lou sits down with her hands shaking. Tim stands near the door, pacing, refusing to sit, refusing to show weakness. Jack finally moves to his chair, sinking into it as if the weight of years has suddenly landed on his shoulders. Amy remains standing, her heart heavy, her mind racing. The conflict of episode 7 is not just external, it is internal. The family is fighting the world and fighting each other at the same time. They must choose whether to confront this challenge together or allow fear and frustration to divide them. The scene ends with Jack saying something simple yet powerful, something that sets the tone. For the rest of the episode, we'll face this, but we face it as a family, or we don't stand a chance. The room falls silent again. The conflict is now clear. The threat is now real. And the rest of the episode will show whether the family can hold on to each other when everything around them is trying to pull them apart. Asterisk. Episode 7 finally begins to reveal its strongest scenes, the moments the trailer only hints at. But the full episode dives into with heavy emotion, slow tension, and powerful visuals. These key scenes form the spine of the storyline, each one shaped to pull the audience deeper into the emotional storm growing inside the Heartland family. The atmosphere, the music, the body language, the pauses, the small looks between characters, everything works together to build a sense of unease and anticipation. The first major scene begins in the barn, where Amy stands alone with a horse that refuses to calm down. The barn is quiet except for the sound of hooves scraping the ground, echoing against the wooden walls. Dust rises as the horse circles, stops, circles again, the pattern repeating with nervous energy. Amy holds the lead rope loosely, using her calm voice, her steady breathing, and her gentle presence to settle the animal. But for the first time in a long while, her tricks don't work. Her voice shakes slightly, her hands tremble just a little, and that is when the audience realizes the scene isn't just about a restless horse. It's about Amy losing her grip on the emotional balance she usually controls. The camera moves close to her face. Her eyes are filled with worry, frustration, and a deep sadness she has not shared with anyone. She whispers something soft, something like, "It's okay, boy, I'm here," but even her reassurance feels uncertain. This moment becomes symbolic. The horse represents the ranch, the family, everything she is trying to hold together, and it is slipping out of her hands. This is one of the most powerful quiet scenes in episode 7. The next key moment is a heated confrontation between Tim and Lou. They stand outside the house near the porch, their voices rising just enough to show their anger, but not loud enough for the younger characters inside to hear. Lou holds the papers from earlier, shaking them in frustration. Tim's arms are crossed, his face tight with stubborn anger. Lou tries to be logical, tries to explain that they need a plan, a proper approach. But Tim cuts her off again and again, insisting that action matters more than strategy. The tension between them grows in every word. Lou says they need to be smart. Tim says they need to be brave. Lou tells him he's acting emotionally. Tim tells her she's acting scared. These lines hit hard because they reflect years of built-up frustration between them. This conflict isn't just about the ranch problem, it's about everything they've never resolved as siblings. The camera shakes slightly, following their movements, adding intensity to the moment. Their fight feels real, raw, and painful. The third major scene focuses on Jack, who sits alone in the loft late at night. The windows are open, letting the cold air drift through. The lantern beside him flickers softly, casting warm light across his tired face. Jack looks at an old photo he keeps tucked away, a photo tied to his past, maybe to Marion, maybe to a moment that shaped the ranch long before the others understood its history. He doesn't speak. He just stares at the photo for a long time, his expression a mix of love, regret, and fear. This quiet scene holds heavy emotional weight because it shows Jack struggling in a way he rarely allows anyone to see. His silence speaks louder than any dialogue could. He feels responsible for the ranch, responsible for the family, responsible for the decisions being made. Yet he also knows he can't force unity, not this time. The strain of the situation sits heavy on his heart, and the audience can see it in the way he runs his fingers across the worn edges of the photo. The moment ends with Jack leaning back, closing his eyes, and whispering something to himself that the audience cannot hear. The trailer then hints at a fourth major scene: a nighttime storm rolling across the ranch. Lightning flashes in the distance. The wind picks up, rattling loose boards on the barn and making the trees sway violently. This storm becomes a metaphor for the emotional chaos happening inside the house. Rain begins to pour in heavy sheets, soaking the ground instantly. The horses panic again, their cries echoing through the storm. Amy rushes into the paddock, her clothes soaked, her hair whipping around her face. She moves quickly, trying to bring a panicking horse inside before it injures itself. This scene is fast, intense, and heartbreaking. The mud makes it hard for Amy to run. The rain blinds her. The horse rears up, scared by the thunder. Amy refuses to back away. She speaks to the animal with a mix of firmness and love, trying to break through its fear. When she finally manages to lead it into the barn, she collapses against its neck, exhausted and overwhelmed. The storm outside becomes a perfect reflection of the storm inside her. Another key moment shown in the trailer revolves around Georgie. She stands in the training ring during sunset, practicing a jump over and over again. She pushes her horse to run faster, jump higher, move sharper, even as her breathing becomes uneven and her posture weakens. Quinn watches from outside the fence, concern growing in his eyes. He calls her name, but she ignores him, pushing harder, forcing herself and the horse past their limits. Finally, Georgie pulls the horse to a stop. Her body shaking with emotion. She leans forward, pressing her forehead to the horse's mane, tears mixing with sweat. Quinn walks toward her slowly, understanding something deeper is happening. He places a hand gently on her shoulder, and Georgie doesn't pull away. She doesn't speak either. She just sits there, caught between who she was, who she wants to be, and who she fears she is becoming. The next major moment in episode 7 involves the newcomer from earlier. The scene takes place inside the house with the entire family gathered around the table. The visitor lays out the situation in a calm, business-like tone, which only makes the room feel colder. The information is devastating in its simplicity. The ranch faces a deadline, a short one. Decisions must be made quickly. The consequences of waiting are severe. The visitor's tone is not cruel, but firm, leaving no room for negotiation. Lou's hands shake. Tim clenches his jaw. Amy's eyes widen with fear. Jack looks down slowly, absorbing every word. This moment becomes the emotional center of the episode. Everything quiets. The only sound is the ticking of the clock on the wall, growing louder and louder until it feels like a heartbeat. Amy breaks the silence first. She speaks softly, but her voice is filled with determination. She asks what can be done, what options the family has. The visitor pauses, looking at her with respect, maybe even sympathy. They explain a few choices, each of them difficult. None of them clean. None of them easy. The tension in this scene is thick. Every facial expression, every small movement, every shift in posture adds to the weight of the moment. The trailer gives a glimpse of this scene with a single line: "You don't have much time." Another key scene is a powerful argument between Jack and Tim that happens later in the episode. For years, unresolved tension has lived between them. They always manage to cover it with work, responsibility, or stubborn silence. But episode 7 forces old wounds to the surface. Tim accuses Jack of hiding information. Jack accuses Tim of acting without thinking. Their voices rise, their anger spilling out in ways the audience rarely sees. The argument ends harshly, with both men turning away from each other, leaving the room in opposite directions. The trailer then shows a softer scene with Amy and Jack in the barn. Amy is sitting on a hay bale, exhausted from everything that happened. Jack walks in slowly, his footsteps quiet, his presence soft. He sits beside her without saying anything. Amy leans her head on his shoulder, not as a trainer, not as a mother, but as someone who needs comfort. Jack places a gentle hand on her back. He doesn't speak. He listens to her breathing, to the storm fading outside, to the sound of the horses settling. Finally, he whispers something short but comforting, something that feels like exactly what Amy needed. The final key scene in this episode is a cliffhanger. The camera moves across the ranch, following Amy as she walks toward the edge of the property where the storm has cleared. She sees something or someone unexpected in the distance. Her eyes widen, her breath catches, and the screen cuts to black before the audience can see what she is reacting to. This is the moment the trailer ends on. A silent shock, a reveal left hanging, a final hook pulling viewers into episode 8. Asterisk, every moment in the episode 7 first look footage feels like it was crafted to pull you deeper into the world of Heartland, almost like the ranch itself is trying to tell a story. The trailer doesn't simply reveal scenes, it reveals feelings, fears, and shifts in the characters' lives. And each little moment seems charged with a meaning that isn't spoken outright, but is felt in the silence between the lines. Episode 7 looks like it carries the calm before a storm, and at the same time a storm inside the calm. Let's break down the most powerful scenes shown in the first look, one by one, unfolding each emotional thread the trailer hints at. The first scene opens with Amy walking across the ranch yard early in the morning. The sky is still soft with a pale orange glow, and you can almost feel the coolness of the air. She isn't rushing, but she isn't relaxed either. Her steps await in them, like she is carrying a thought she hasn't shared with anyone yet. The camera moves close to her face, a quiet, serious expression. The kind she wears when something is bothering her, but she's trying not to show it. In the background, we hear distant horse whinnies as if the animals sense her energy. The trailer uses no dramatic music here, only the natural sounds of the ranch, making the moment feel raw and real. It's the kind of opening that suggests episode 7 will focus heavily on Amy's inner world, the part of her she guards even from those she loves. She touches the fence lightly, almost like she's grounding herself. as if preparing for whatever is coming next. Next, the trailer shifts to a softer, but more mysterious moment. We see a horse dark coat, troubled eyes standing separated from the others inside the round pen. Amy approaches him slowly. The horse pulls its head back, uneasy, but not fearful. It's as if he wants to trust, but something inside him is still broken. The camera captures Amy's gentle hand reaching out. Her fingers tremble slightly, hinting that she's dealing with more than just a difficult animal. There is something symbolic here. Every time Heartland introduces a troubled horse, it mirrors a troubled person. The rhythm has always been this way. The horses reflect the people. And this horse feels like a reflection of a deeper emotional story in episode 7. As she whispers softly, the trailer fades to black before we see weather. The horse steps forward, or not creating an emotional cliffhanger inside the scene itself. Then the trailer cuts sharply to a scene with Lou, inside the kitchen at the ranch house. The sound here changes faster, more tense. Lou is pacing with the paper in her hand, something official looking, maybe a letter, maybe a report. The camera doesn't show us what it is, only her reaction. Her eyes are wide, her breathing quick. She looks like someone who just received news that shakes the ground beneath her. She sets the paper down on the table, takes one deep breath, and then quickly wipes her face as if she refuses to let her emotions spill. Lou has always been strong, but this moment hints that even her strength may be tested in episode 7. We hear Jack call her name in the distance, but she doesn't answer. Instead, she looks at the paper again with a mixture of worry and determination. The way the scene is shot makes you feel like this paper might change Lou's entire direction going forward. The trailer then transitions to Jack standing outside the barn. He is leaning against one of the wooden posts, arms crossed, eyes narrowed. There is a heaviness in his posture, like he already knows something bad is on the horizon. A slow wind blows through, moving his coat slightly. Behind him, we hear someone arguing faintly inside. The barn voice is raised to muffled to identify. Jack doesn't step inside or intervene. He simply listens. His expression shows both disappointment and hurt, suggesting the argument is between people he cares deeply about. The camera stays on him for several seconds, letting us read the emotion in his eyes. Jack rarely shows fear, but here you can sense a shadow in his face, as if he fears that the family is about to step into a storm that no one is ready for. Another key scene shows him driving his truck down the ranch road, the dust rising behind him. His jaw is tight, his grip on the steering wheel too firm. He looks like he's wrestling with something: anger, fear, guilt, or maybe all three. The trailer cuts quickly to him walking into the indoor arena, where Amy is working with the troubled horse again. Tim tries to speak, but the trailer cuts his dialogue off. Amy doesn't look at him. She keeps her focus on the horse, and her silence speaks louder than any argument could. This tension between father and daughter has been building throughout the season, but here, in this tiny silent moment, it reaches a new height. The trailer gives us just enough to know a confrontation is coming in episode 7, and it won't be an easy one. Then there's a brief but powerful shot of Georgie, her first appearance in this trailer. She is standing in the doorway of the loft holding her phone tightly. Her eyes are red as if she's been crying, but she doesn't let the tears fall now. She looks at the phone screen, hesitates, and then locks it. Something is weighing on her. Maybe it's Quinn. Maybe it's her future. Maybe it's something she hasn't told the family yet. The camera pulls back slowly as she leans her head against the wooden doorframe. This is one of those scenes Heartland likes to use to prepare you for an emotional reveal. Later in the episode, the silence around her is loud, telling us that Georgie is fighting a battle we haven't seen yet. The next big moment in the trailer is one that sends a shockwave through the fan base. We see Amy suddenly running toward the pasture, shouting, "Jack." Her voice is urgent. Jack appears from behind the old shed, also running, his face filled with fear. The trailer shakes the camera slightly here to increase the impact, creating a sense of danger. We see a horse lying on its side near the fence. The scene cuts before we know what happened or which horse it is. That single moment is enough to make any Heartland viewer stop breathing for a second. The emotional stakes in episode 7 suddenly feel higher than ever. Horses in pain always signal big drama ahead. Another standout scene appears to be a confrontation between two characters, though the trailer hides who they are. We hear one voice say, "You should have told us sooner," and another voice reply, "I didn't have a choice." The camera shows only shadows, not faces. This scene is designed to spark theories. Whatever secret is being discussed seems big enough to cause division within the family. The shadows on the wall move as the characters argue, emphasizing tension without giving away the identities. This is classic Heartland style, mystery wrapped in emotion. Then comes a surprisingly warm moment. We see Jack sitting on the porch steps with Katie beside him. She looks upset, but he gently wraps his arm around her shoulders. She rests her head against him, and he speaks softly, though we can't hear the words. The sun is setting behind them, painting the sky in soft orange and purple. This quiet moment feels like a reminder that despite all the conflict building in episode 7, there will still be scenes filled with comfort, healing, and the deep family bonds that make Heartland what it is. Katie has been going through her own challenges this season, and this scene suggests Jack will play a major role in helping her through the next steps. Asterisk, another powerful moment shows Amy standing alone inside the round pen at night. The moonlight glows across the dirt. She holds a halter in her hand, but the horse is nowhere in sight. Her eyes shine with tears she isn't wiping away this time. The night air is quiet except for a soft breeze. This scene feels like the emotional core of episode 7. The moment where Amy finally lets her guard down. She whispers, "I don't know how to fix this." And the trailer cuts away before we know what she's referring to. It could be the horse. It could be her family. It could be something deeper inside her. The ambiguity makes the moment hit even harder. Finally, the trailer ends with a single shot of Jack looking directly at Amy, with the most serious expression we've seen from him all season. He says one line, "Whatever happens next." We face it together. The camera then cuts to black. No music, no extra scenes, just silence. This ending feels like a promise and a warning at the same time. Whatever episode 7 holds, it won't be small, and it won't be easy.